my channel. I don't know about y'all, but I'm liking the night light. Okay. I kind of slipped up and didn't get to my videos during the daylight, okay? But I'm okay with the nighttime, all right? Y'all probably can't tell, but it's nighttime, and I'm recording. This is a first for me, but nevertheless, we are getting it out of the way, and I'm actually going to do 2 videos at one time, so y'all get this one, and then the next one, or the next one, and then this one, whatever. You'll know when you know, because you'll see me in the same outfit, okay? Okay. All right. Now, Harafe told me that I did not show him in this week's videos, and I do apologize. We like to have Harafe come out for the people. Bring them out. Bring them out. Let's see out for the people. Here he goes right here. Harafe, everybody. Our luxury golden giraffe. But we don't pronounce the G. We don't talk about... Nope, we don't. We don't pronounce it with a G. What we don't pronounce the G is Harafe. All right? It's French. I think that's what that is. Anyway, moving right along. So, today's topic is going to be a good one. All right? How to spot a hypocrite. Or no, really, the real question is, are you a hypocrite? That's what we want to know. The people want to know, are you a hypocrite? We finna find out. But before we do that, got to give the first 3 points that matter most, all right, for all of us having this conversation and listening in on my 2 cents. First, you are not alone. Number 2, you are not crazy. Number 3, God still loves you. But we cannot forget that some of the biggest hypocrites are in the house of the Lord, all right? Yes, they are. They are there. They are there. They be on time. Sometimes. They be on time. And the hypocrisy be on full display. We've all heard the saying, and we probably have all said it. The biggest hypocrites are in the church. The most problematic, toxic people are in church. The most problematic, toxic males and men are in church. They are. They are. Oof. That was just a hard pill to swallow. Child, that was just a hard pill to swallow. They up in there. And all of them aren't even in leadership. That's the crazy thing about it. Majority of them are. There are not a lot of men that go to church and that are like diehard Christians. I've met a lot of women over my life who are married and their husbands don't go to church with them. Like, they're just like, nope, I'm good on pastor. I'm good on church. I'm good on organized religion. The husbands will stay home and fish. They'll stay home and fix stuff. They'll stay home and watch basketball, baseball, golf, or soccer, or football. But they're not going to church with you. They're not going down there to the church house with you because they don't like the hypocrites. And this is why we're going to get into this list and talk about what a hypocrite is and some signs of a hypocrite. And maybe you may see some of your profile characteristics up in here. And we're going to call them out. And we're going to cast them out into the sea of forgetfulness. But you got to stop first. You got to not be a hypocrite. We don't like that. Me and my homegirls do not like that. So let's talk about what a hypocrite is. A person who pretends to have virtues, morals, or religious beliefs, principles, etc., that he or she does not actually possess, especially a person whose actions belie stated beliefs. Your actions don't even line up with your beliefs. That is a hypocrite. You can be a hypocrite in so many ways. We know, we call it caping, you know, we call it, not caping, we call it capping. It's capping, like, you are capping right now. That ain't what it is. You're not being truthful, you're not being authentic, you're being a hypocrite. That ain't really what you believe, that's not really what you do, that's not really how you move. Hypocritical behavior is everywhere. It's not just in church, but for this channel's purposes. We're going to focus on those in church who don't really do what they say they believe in. All right, so let's talk about it. What's a characteristic of a hypocrite? Say one thing, but do another. We all know people who do this. Mainly people who preach one thing and live something totally opposite. They're, thus coining the term, practice what you preach. If you're going to tell me to not talk about people, to not say things, to not act a certain way, to not carry myself in certain manners or behaviors, you should not be caught doing it too. I think this is what usually is such an issue for people in church because they don't really live up to the standard that they themselves set. Because they be the ones out here going hard on certain scriptures. And then it comes out that they are guilty of these things. And you want to know something? It ain't even that big a deal. Some of the things that happen in ministries, like scandals and big, hiccups and misjudgments, are natural human error. You're going to do it. I'm not going to even call it sin. You're going to do it because you're not perfect. When you have pastors who end up cheating on their wives, having marital affairs, certain, same-sex attraction stories come out, or videos of pastors sleeping with other men, or the things like that, that's gonna happen. That would have happened if you weren't a pastor, right? If that's your attraction in your life, you were going to do that anyway. But what makes it so hypocritical is because there are probably some sermons of you hollering out and talking reckless about homosexuals. That's hypocritical. Saying one thing, but doing another. Next up, treat those in power differently than they act towards people who are under power. So hypocritical for you to respect people that are higher up and then be disrespectful to people that you feel don't have as much power. That is wrong. Everyone should be treated equally. So when you start finding yourself in this, really happens in the workforce, like for real, you start esteeming people highly because they have the power to either fire you, give you a raise, give you a promotion, whatever. And then you treat people that you work with, your coworkers, side by side, disrespectfully. Treat everybody equally. If you want your manager or your leader to show you respect, you should then want to show respect to everybody else. Because why else do you expect that person to do it, but then you yourself don't exhibit it to other people who don't have the power to hire you, fire you, give you a raise, or give you a promotion? Don't be a hypocrite. We don't like that. Don't do that. Number 3, give advice, but fail to follow their own advice. Oh my goodness. I know specifically of a situation. I won't say of who, if it's a pastor or a friend, a coworker, or whatever. But I have known of a situation where an individual was giving marital advice, and I mean strong, was going in on the marital advice, and was out here on the brink of divorce themselves. Was not taking any of the advice into consideration in their own relationship. And it was advice that they very well could have applied, given what the dissolution of their relationship resulted in. But my point here is that you cannot be out here giving advice to people that you don't plan on applying yourself. There's also people who will do this when it comes to spiritual guidance and things, telling you to seek God on this and to wait to move or to do this or to make this happen or to go after certain opportunities or positions. But it's like, why do I have to wait and you be doing what you want to do? Why should I stop talking to such and such or cut such and such off, but you still talking to X, Y, and Z? And I know they ain't about, 2 hot quarters rubbed together on a summer day. You have to be able to look within and say, hey, if I'm giving this advice to this person, am I doing what I should be doing in this area or this arena? I do not speak on 3 things to other people: relationships, money, politics. I do not. Now, I be covering religion. I ain't gonna lie, because I'm strong in them points. I know I'm not wavering in that at all. I know my beliefs there. I'm solid, I'm stable, and I'm exercising them joints. I do not talk to people about their relationship, about their money, okay? Don't talk to people about their relationship and their money if they don't come to you to talk to them about that. And politics. Because everybody's beliefs are different. And if I'm going to judge you on that, I would have to then look at my own beliefs to say, am I lining up with what I'm judging this person for? Or am I giving advice from a place where I'm actually practicing these things myself? That takes accountability and self-awareness, which a lot of people lack. Moving on to the next one. Preaching or teaching tolerance, but judging others who don't conform to their way of thinking. People in church are infamous for doing this. You want everybody to believe in God, to do what you do, to take the scripture as their truth and their light and their guide for life, but you're judging them based off of that scripture and belief, but you want them to then believe it too. But you're treating them like crap based off of the same scripture that you want them to follow and to trust. That doesn't add up. You can't preach tolerance and then be intolerant of people who don't believe you. That's hypocritical. Next, volunteer others, but rarely raise your own hand to do anything for anyone at all. There are a lot of people who do this. Such and such is good at that. They can do this. Oh no, I can't make it, but such and such is, you're never available. You aren't a willing participant to give of yourself in any way, to stretch yourself, to sacrifice in these areas or this area or whatever, but you don't mind offering other people's time up. You don't mind putting other people in line, knowing good and well you're not going to do it. So you really should give the same energy that you want other people to give. Because when it comes to you or anything that you're doing, you probably would want people to jump up, to volunteer, to give to you, to do for you, to sacrifice time for you, to put you first. But you haven't done that in any area of your life or relationships. Be mindful of that, because that is hypocritical behavior. Next, living one way in public but another in private. I talked about that earlier with the pastors, or anyone for that matter, who may do things in secret, and then when they come out, it's like, well, you was just talking real heavy and hard about X, Y, and Z, but now it come out you was doing what? To who? What? Hurting children, infidelity, extortion, and embezzlement. I do not believe these things. But in public, you were one way, perfect, judging others, right? Kikiing and giving the guise of perfection, but that wasn't your reality. Now, one thing that does not constitute as hypocrisy is you just not telling your business to other people just to be doing it. It's not saying that you're being fake or you're being hypocritical if you are giving the appearance that you have it all together, but you indeed don't. That's just life. Because you just shouldn't want to be out here being a whole mess. You shouldn't want to be out here bleeding on others and complaining all the time. I'm not saying fake it until you make it. I don't like that saying. That's not hypocritical to just not be out here complaining all the time and telling people your business or your problems. Because everybody don't care. Okay? So it could all be falling apart for me on this video. And you would never know. That's not hypocritical. That's just life. That's just figuring out a way to deal with what's happening and overcome it. And sometimes you will need certain people who you can trust to connect with and actually share with. But you don't have to be vulnerable with everyone, oversharing to not seem hypocritical. Girl, I just tell it all because I don't want nobody to think I'm acting. No. Sometimes you have to protect yourself, because just as with relationships, you don't tell everybody when something's going wrong just in case they don't get over it when you do. It's the same thing with your personal life and your business and your issues. You don't tell everybody everything because some people want to hold you in the position of what you didn't have a while ago. You may have overcome a struggle or a situation, but people you told it to are still there with it. And they're still telling people, girl, she was just this. She just didn't have this last month. She was about to get put out. Shh. Keep it on the low. Unless they need to know. Okay? All right. So that's not hypocritical. To live one way in public and then live another way in private. Your private life, you do have a right to that privacy. This is referring to people who talk about other people living a certain way, but they're doing it themselves privately. That's not fair, and that is hypocritical. Pretending to be someone they're not merely to win acceptance. We know people who do this. They don't want to be on the outskirts. They don't want to be isolated. They don't want to feel left out. So they just act as if though they go along to get along. And it's not really who they are. If you don't believe in something, if you don't want a certain thing, or you're not into something, don't act like you are just to be around certain people. Find your lane and stay in it. Master it. You don't have to be someone else. You don't have to pretend to be someone else to be accepted. You would be surprised how many people will love you for the qualities that you have and the person that you are if you would just be that person. And guess what? If that person isn't going to like you based off of who you are, that's not your person. Those aren't your people. If people don't like me because I tell the truth and I speak up and I don't just go along to get along, I'm not meant to be around you, and you aren't meant to have access to me. Accept that. No need to be a hypocrite and change it up when you get in certain environments. That gets tiring, and people will notice it and possibly call you on it or disconnect because they realize you're not genuine. Next, making rules but fail to follow the same rules themselves. Pastors are infamous for this. Okay? Now, let me just tell you, if you want me to be here on time, I need to see your antennas out here too. Don't stay in your study because I know you may not have gotten here until 5 minutes prior to stage time. Get out here too. Let me see you. Don't hold anyone else to a standard. Don't set rules that you yourself are not following if you don't plan on me breaking them because you're breaking them. Don't hold anyone to a standard that you are yourself not willing to rise to. I've said it before. In my business, there are certain parts of my business that some people would be like, CEOs shouldn't be doing. Lies and fallacies. I will do whatever I need to do to be successful in my business. There is nothing I've asked any of my team members and employees to do that I myself, Christian, have not done. There are just no things, because I can do all of the things that I'm asking you to do. I do the things that I ask you to do. It's not beneath me to work. It's not beneath me to follow the rules or the guidelines or the structure and the processes and the programs that are in place for success to be the destiny or to be fulfilled. In order for success to be achieved, we all got to play by the rules. The same thing applies here. In order for success and abundance and greatness and to thrive and to gain momentum, everyone has to play by the same rules that are in place for greatness to be achieved. If you find people slipping and sliding and be like, girl, I ain't got to do that. I made the rules. I can break the rules. Bet. I'm out. I'm not sticking around if you can't even follow the rules that you yourself, the leader, has created. Next, preach morality but live a life with no integrity. Yeah, it's common. In church specifically, you have people that tell you not to drink, not to smoke, not to go to clubs, not to listen to secular music, not to dress a certain way. But honey, you can find them doing 1 through 5 on vacation. And it's okay. But you find yourself in a chokehold because you've been talking greasy about it in the pulpit. Stop it. Stop it. It's okay if you like to twerk in Turks and Caicos. It's okay if you like a little margarita. All right? When you go get your chips and salsa on Taco Tuesday, that's your business. But it's hard when you're a hypocrite and you've preached out against it in certain settings, and then you find yourself doing it in others. That's bondage no one should be in, but we hold ourselves to these standards as people under leadership, knowing leadership isn't doing it themselves. But then what gets me when it comes out that certain people do things that they preach against, ain't none of us perfect. That's what they say. Oh my goodness. And that ain't nowhere part of the scripture. But ain't none of us perfect. We all fail. And I'm not going to call it failing. We just all living. It's not a sin to do some of these things. We ourselves have made them judgmental actions. Actions that require judgment or cast judgment on other people for doing it. And I don't think that's fair. Let people live. If you want to sip and drink alcohol, drink it. Drink it. And if you don't, then don't. But don't get mad at people who do. And don't talk about people who do and then you're found doing it too. You're hurting yourself. You can save yourself a lot of time by switching to minding your own business. Next up, altering their opinion to gain acceptance from people with differing viewpoints. I talked about that earlier with changing up, and pretending to be somebody else to be accepted. Don't alter who you are. Don't change your opinion on certain topics and issues when you're talking to people just to gain their acceptance or their approval. Like, yeah, she thinks just like me. Me and such and such were just having a conversation. Girl, didn't you say you believe that too, right? You feel like that too. Don't do that, especially if you don't. Because at some point that's going to change. This has happened to me, and I am so grateful that I have made amends with myself for being untrue to my true feelings, but life experiences caused me to change my outlook, opinion, and my approach. When we were in radio, we actually were in radio at a Christian conservative radio, a network, and it caused me to have conservative views that I did not actually believe in. I did at the time because of my environment, but I was in a closed, sheltered environment. I was around people who thought like me. I was not around other people who could challenge my thought processes, could challenge my opinion, my views, or any of that. Because if they would have, if I had been around people to like poke holes in my stuff, I probably would have like deflated instantly, because I had this overinflated view of self in my words, like the things that I said, because of the other people I was around. They made me feel bold in my thoughts, even though I was wrong, right? Even though I was literally cutting off another part of myself just to exist in their space and to be accepted, I felt okay because they thought like me. They were championing me on. They were cheering for me to be loud and wrong. But when you're around people who think like you, there are no challenges or opposition to look at what you're saying and doing and say, do I really think that? Do I really agree with that? Would I feel like that if I wasn't around them, or if I wasn't in here? No, you probably wouldn't. So changing and altering your opinion and your views in order to fit in with other people only ends up hurting you. Because you're the one that may have to backtrack and swallow a penny to explain to other people why you were once like that. Because I did. And I'm okay with having to admit that I had to go back and change some things and apologize for certain things and delete certain things and remove certain things. I'm like, that was ignorant. That was dumb of me to say what I said, or to think the way that I thought about that topic and Christian rap music and certain rappers. Why was I speaking on that stuff? One thing I've learned since coming out of radio in that situation, you do not have to have an opinion on everything. Some things you don't have to speak on. It's okay to say, not today. I ain't got nothing on that. Go to the next person. It's okay to not have no opinion, or to not share yours. It's all right. Next, condemn the actions of others even though they commit those same acts themselves. We just talked about that in an earlier point. Literally, you can be perpetrating or engaging in the same behaviors, whatever that may be, and you're condemning people who you can see doing it on the outside, but you're actually doing it privately. Like that boy. All right. The guy on TikTok. Yeah. You could have just did this. Shut up. Because you're doing it too. Help people only when it's in their personal interest to do so. You know that if you weren't going to get anything out of it, you wouldn't be doing it. And you also know that if somebody came to you and asked you to do it for them, and they were the ones to be gaining and you weren't, you wouldn't do it for them. That's hypocritical. Don't expect anything from people that you aren't willing to give yourself. Just like I said earlier, don't expect people to do or follow rules that you won't follow. Don't expect people to sacrifice and give to you and put you first and go out of their way if you know you wouldn't do it for them. If it only benefits you and that's the only time you call, text, drop by, ask questions, phone a friend, if you know that person can't tap into you and ask you to do it too, leave people alone. Because that's hypocritical. And lastly, having outrage, even though you know you have no intention of doing anything about what you're acting outraged over. Don't do that. Because that's not nice. That's a disingenuous heart. That's a disingenuous heart and motive. When you know that you're just acting as if though you care about something, but you have no dog in the fight, no horse in the race, and you do not plan on standing in no space to actually show up and be a caring agent for change in that matter. If it's something, specifically other people, this happens often when there are situations where people don't want to pick a side and they act outraged about the overall issue, but they know when it comes down to it, they don't plan to ever stick a flag in the ground to show what way, what they really believe or what they really feel. And that is people's way to bluff their way out of actually being accountable. That's people's way to actually bluff their way of actually having to choose what side of something they stand on. A lot of pastors are infamous for this when they don't want to speak about right or wrong or what they actually think or what their opinion is. So they'll what we used to call in radio soup mouth. Yeah. So oh no, I thought I heard, and it was a scripture where this was soup mouth. You just saying a whole lot of nothing. So you might as well just swallow the soup. It's hot. It's hot. You ain't got no points. You don't know what to say. You were acting outraged, but now that we put you on the spot, you're not really able to deliver because you're not going to do anything about it. So make sure that these points of hypocrisy are not something that happens in your life, that you're not guilty of doing, if you will. Again, I'm not going to call it a sin, but these are just points for us to be self-aware. Like, just be aware of what we're saying and what we're doing, and if we're really genuine and authentic in all that we engage in and do. If it's something you don't believe in, don't do it. If it's somewhere you don't want to be, don't go. Don't engage. Don't invite. Don't accept. It's very simple. A lot of things that we get ourselves into are simply choices, and we can choose to be somewhere else, do something else, engage with other people. And if you find that something is not authentic, you can either discuss it and talk about it, or you can choose to remove yourself and just say, hey, that wasn't for me. But there's no need for you to camouflage and to fake people out and to bluff your way through life. In the end, you're only going to be miserable trying to become a new person for people who never asked you to change for them in the first place. That's deep. In church, a lot of people are being hypocrites for people who never asked them to be a certain way in the first place. They're afraid of being themselves because they think it'll make people not like them, not realizing you're in bondage to an image that only you care about. Woo! Now that's a deep sadness to actually have to come to the realization of. I ain't even care about you in the first place. You did all of this for nothing. For nothing. All right? Hopefully you guys have enjoyed my 2 cents on what it is or how to spot a hypocrite. And I know a lot of us know them. We may be guilty of some of these things ourselves or have been in the past. None of us are exempt from ever exhibiting hypocrisy or hypocritical behavior. You may do it in your parenting. Your parents may have done it to you. You may be a perpetrator of certain hypocritical behavior in your friendships or even your relationships, dating-wise, marriage-wise, work hypocrisy, corporate America hypocrisy. Things that you don't want your boss doing to you, you do to others. Things that you don't want your coworkers doing, you do. There's so many facets that this fits into, and you just have to be aware every step of the way to say, hey, let me check that. Everything doesn't have to be you getting called out by other people. You actually can just hold yourself accountable. But that takes maturity and self-awareness. So if you don't know how to get there, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely share some things that I use, some tools I use after I get over myself and out of my head. I will sit down with myself sometimes and be like, girl, you was out of line for that. Now, how would you feel if he did that? I literally ask myself this at least 3 times a week concerning my children, my husband, my business. I ask myself, how would I feel if that was done to me as a customer, right? How would I feel if my husband did this? How would I feel if my mom had did this to me as a kid? I put myself in the other person's shoes constantly so that I am aware of what I'm doing and I can make the changes, and I don't raise children that will grow up wishing I had been a little bit more vulnerable and aware. You don't want to hurt people based off of the lack of knowledge that you have. So let's try to grow in wisdom. Let's try to gain that knowledge and that insight, and let's apply it. Let's apply it. That's how we all get better, when we're aware together. All right, that's my 2 cents on the topic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like the video, comment if you can relate, and I will see you guys in the next one if you tune in for more of my 2 cents. Bye.